start the note sheets for 5.5 today. We'll finish them up on Monday. We're not doing the entire lesson today. Now, what we're looking at with 5.5 is operations on functions. And the main ones we're looking at for at least 5.5 is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now, the first one we have here is addition. And how we pronounce this is f plus g of x. And when we have f plus g of x, this is the exact same as saying, well, I'm going to take the function f of x and add it to g of x. We're going to add the two functions together. So you don't have to write the example, but at least getting the definition is going to be good, because f plus g of x is the same as f of x plus g of x. So whatever the function f of x is and g of x, we're going to add the two together. The next one here, f minus g of x. Well, we're taking the function f of x and subtracting g of x from it. And the next one, multiplication, f times g of x is, well, we're taking the function f of x and multiplying it by the function g of x. We're just going to multiply the two functions together. And the last one, division, f divided by g of x is f of x divided by g of x. Now, g of x cannot equal 0 because we can't divide by 0. And out of these four here, the main ones we're going to look at is addition and subtraction today. We'll look at multiplication, division tomorrow, and kind of go back over some of the addition, subtraction. Now, the first problem we're going to look at is this one here. Now, let f of x equal 3 squared of x, and g of x be negative 10 squared of x. So those are going to be our two main functions. Find f plus g of x. So we're going to find f plus g of x. And then once we find it, we're going to evaluate this when x is 4. So we're going to find f plus g of 4. Now, before we evaluate the function when x is 4, we're going to find f plus g of x. Now, f plus g of x is the same as f of x plus g of x. The function f of x plus the function g of x. Now, for this problem here, f of x is what? 3 squared of x. So we can replace f of x with 3 squared of x plus g of x, in our case for this one here, is negative 10 squared of x. So we'll replace it with negative 10 squared of x. Add them together. We can add these two together since they both have the square root of x. We can add the numbers. So 3 plus negative 10 is negative 7 squared of x. And this here is our f plus g of x. Any questions on this here? So to evaluate it for when x is 4, well, we know what the function f plus g of x is. It's our negative 7 times square root of x. So if I want to evaluate this function when x is 4, well, we can replace x with 4. So we'd have negative 7 times square root of 4. Now, at this point here, we could type negative 7 times square root of 4 in the calculator, and it would tell us what it is. If we do this by hand, well, the square root of 4 is negative 7 times 2 is negative. That's all we have to do for this here. Any questions on any of this here? All right. We can look at another one here. For this one here, we're going to find f plus g of x, and then we're going to evaluate x when it's 16. Evaluate this function when x is 16. Now, f plus g of x, again, is the same as f of x plus g of x. We're adding these two functions together. Now, for us here, in this case, f of x is now 5 square root of x. And g of x is now negative 8 square root of x. So we can replace those two. And again, since both of them have the same radical, and what's inside, they're both square roots, and what's inside the square root is the same, it's both x, we can go on and add the numbers. So we can add 5 and negative 8. And 5 plus negative 8 is negative 3, and we have the square root of x. And this here would be our answer. Because we didn't say it on the first one, but we could say that f plus g of x is equal to negative 3 square root of x. That is our answer for this here. We found and evaluated what f plus g of x is. And again, just like with the first one, we can evaluate it for a specific value when x is 16. So what we're saying here is that we have negative 3 times the square root of 16. And now we just need to simplify this here. Now the square root of 16 is 4. And negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. So we can say f plus g of 16 is negative 12. Any questions on this here? Good. So for this here, I mean, the addition, subtraction, function is not bad because we're just adding or subtracting the like terms and combining it, and then we can plug in a value for x to simplify. The other way that we can use this is subtracting two functions. Given these two functions here for f of x and g of x, we can find f minus g of x. That's what we're going to do first. We're going to find f minus g of x. And once we find it, then we're going to evaluate f minus g of x for when x is negative 2. Now, when we look at f minus g of x, really what we're looking at here is the function f of x minus the function g of x. F minus g of x is the same as f of x minus g of x. Now, the function f of x, we can go on and replace it, which is our 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5, minus. Now we can go on and plug in the function g of x. And our g of x function is our x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 2. And once we plug those in, we can go on and just start simplifying and combining like terms. Any questions on this so far? Well, at this point here, if we wanted to, we could go on and just subtract and say 3x cubed minus x cubed is 2x cubed. And negative 2x squared minus negative 3x squared is going to give us x squared. And we can go on and do that. Or what we can do is simplify the second set of parentheses. Okay. And distribute the negative through. Because if we distribute the negative through that second set of parentheses, the x cubed is going to become negative. our negative 3x squared is going to become positive 3x squared. Our positive 4x is going to become negative. And lastly, the negative 2 is going to become positive. It's going to change the signs of everything in the second set of parentheses. And after we do that, we can go on and just combine like terms. So our 3x squared, or not 3x squared, 3x cubed, and our x cubed, 3x cubed minus x cubed is going to give us 2x cubed. Our negative 2x squared plus 3x squared is going to give us plus x squared. And then we would have the negative 4x, because that's the only term with x, so it doesn't change. And lastly, we have our 5 plus 2, which would give us plus 7. So our f minus g of x is the function 2x cubed plus x squared minus 4x plus 7. Any questions on this here before we evaluate this function when x is equal to negative 2? So the last thing we need to do is just plug in negative 2 for x, and if we do that, we'll get 2 times negative 2 cubed plus negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2 plus 7. Now at this point here, we could type this whole thing into the calculator just as we see it, and it would give us the answer. Or we can do this by hand. Well, if we take negative 2 to the third, we get negative 8. Plus negative 2 squared would be positive 4. Negative 4 times negative 2 is going to be plus 8 plus 7. Now 2 times negative 8 is going to be negative 16 plus, well, we can add these three together. 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 7 would give us 19. And negative 16 plus 19 is 3. So the other answer for this problem would be 3. Yep. Any questions on any of this here? Let's look at one last one. Yep, just a lot of steps. So, all right, guys, so we'll look at this one here. So this next one here is we're subtracting f from g of x. So we have our f minus g of x. And again, this here is still the same as f of x minus our function g of x. Now again, just like before, we could replace our function f of x with what it is, our 2x squared plus 4x, or 2x cubed plus 4x squared minus 8x plus 4. Now we're subtracting from it our function g of x, which is our 3x cubed minus 5x squared plus 6x minus 9. So we take f minus g of x, or f of x minus g of x. We're really subtracting these two functions from each other. Now at this point here, we could go on and just subtract 2x cubed from 3x cubed, 4x squared from negative 5x squared, our negative 8x and 6x, and 4 and negative 9. But it's sometimes helpful to rewrite it, if it'll let me rewrite it and not scroll. Now the first function will stay the same, but our second function, all the signs are going to change because of our subtraction. So the 3x cubed was going to go from positive to negative. Our negative 5x squared is going to go from negative to positive. The 6x is going to go from positive to negative. And our negative 9 is going to go from negative to positive. So the signs of the second are going to change completely. Now the last thing we need to do before we can figure out what f minus g of x is just combine like terms. So we can say 2x cubed minus 3x cubed is going to be negative x cubed. Our 4x squared plus 5x squared is going to be plus 9x squared. Our negative 8x minus 6x is going to be negative 14x. And lastly, 4 plus 9 is going to be plus 13. And this here is our f minus g of x. Now the last thing we have to do for this problem is to evaluate this for when x is equal to negative 1. So what we can do is replace everywhere there's an x in this function with negative 1. So for our f minus g of negative 1, we're going to get negative 1 cubed plus 9 times negative 1 squared minus 14 times negative 1 plus 13. And again, at this point here, we could type this into the calculator. And the calculator would simplify this for us down to a single number, and it would give us our answer. Now, if we work this out by hand, negative 1 cubed is going to give us negative 1. Plus 9 times negative 1 squared is going to give us 1. Negative 14 times negative 1, negative and negative make a 14, plus 13. So negative times negative 1 is going to be 1. 9 times 1 is 9. And 13 and 14 give us 27. Well, 9 plus 1 is 10, and 10 plus 27 is 37. And that's all we have to do for these here. Yep. Any questions on any of this here? Any questions on anything we've done? Huh? Yes. How's that?